Okay, we thank Hashem.
Made it. It was easy.
Thank Hashem that we're able to learn every day. It's chus of our learning. We should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Okay, so we learned a Mishnah on Yudalet Amud Beis, and that was someone saying that sleep is forbidden to him. Then we had a statement after that where if someone makes a stipulation, takes a vow with the stipulation, and it's going to be a machlokes here between Rav Nachman and Rabbi Yehuda regarding if the stipulation comes after the vow. It's like this: it's forbidden for me to sleep today if I'm going to sleep tomorrow. So Rav Nachman says, "Oh, there's no problem. You could sleep today. Just make sure don't sleep tomorrow." And Rabbi Yehuda says, "No." Yehuda says, if you're going to go to sleep today, we're afraid that you're going to sleep tomorrow. Why? Because tomorrow it's not a violation of the vow of tomorrow, because tomorrow it's only a stipulation. And so if he sleeps today, which is the real vow, we're afraid that he may take the stipulation lenient. But if he does it the other way, if he says, I won't sleep tomorrow if I sleep today, then he's allowed to sleep today and just make sure that tomorrow he won't sleep. Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda says that, Rav Nachman for sure would hold this, that the vow he's going to take serious. And tomorrow is the vow. The vow he's going to take serious. Okay, so now we're going to start Tes Vav Amud Aleph on the second line. It's 15a. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. We go back to discuss what we learned. Kainam Shani Yashin, Shani Mahalech, Shani Medaber, Chula. Takes a vow. Kainam is the expression that means he's taking a vow. He's comparing it to the sacrifice. That's the word that the sages made. That's another language, right? Rabbi Yechon Rish Lakish. He takes this vow that he's not going to sleep, that he's not going to walk, that he's not going to talk. Okay. What's the case? What's the case? What are you looking at? Ilema, if you say Kidiktani exactly like that, exactly as the Mishnah says, there's a little problem over here. Shani Yashin Mihavi Nidra, is it considered a vow if he says that I will not sleep? No, there's a problem. In other words, what he's saying is sleep is forbidden. The only problem is, but we have a Mishnah, we mentioned this before, it's actually a Brisa. But Tanya, it's supposed to say, but Tanya was taught in a Brisa. What does it say by you, Tanan or Tanya? Batanan. Yeah, so by us it gets edited. Batanan says Batanan. On the side, as you see the brackets on the side, the brackets in the Maseres Shaslas Rabbi Shaya pick is the brackets. He corrected this. Rabbi Shaya Berlin, I think we call it. But Tanya started in a Brisa Chaymer b'Shvuos. There's a stringency over Shavuos. In this Brisa, there's a comparison between a contrast between Shavuos and Nedarim. A Shavuos is the oath, and the Neder is the vow. So what's the difference between them? The oath is when he says, I'm not going to do something, or I will do something. And the vow is when he says, this item is prohibited to me. So the oath is on the person, and the vow is on the object. So, but there's a stringency in Shavuot, in an oath. A person can make an oath and it will take effect whether it has substance or it doesn't have substance. So for example, for a vow, he can only say that this object is prohibited to me, but he can't say that I'm not going to look at it, that looking at it is prohibited, because what is he, unless he says the object is prohibited, but he can't just the vision or to talk or to eat or to sleep, that he can't. Well, to eat would be, he would put it on the object, but to sleep, what's the object of sleeping? There's no object there. It's just an action, and it's aimed by mamish. There's no substance to that. So mashenki nedarim, but by nedarim it doesn't work. And the problem is v'shina davar shein by mamishu, and sleeping has no substance. How can he say that this sleep is forbidden to me like a sacrifice? There's no substance for the sleep. The Gemara says, there is a substance, but he has to specify it. He has to say, I don't know if the Gemara means that it's as if he's saying it or if that he actually said it. What he means to say is that my eyes are forbidden from sleeping. I guess sleep is in the eyes. I don't know if that's, I'm sure there is something in the eyes, but I don't know if that's all. I don't know if that's all of sleep. It's just the eyes. We didn't get into the stipulation yet. We didn't get into that. It's going to come up. Yeah, sleep from my eyes. There you go. Very good. Very good.
That's sleepwalking. Sleepwalking.
Right. What's the fancy word for that? There's a fancy word for sleepwalking. I don't remember. No.
Slumber.
Like, what is it?
Slumber.
No, for sleepwalking.
Oh, sleepwalking. Oh.
There's a fancy word for it. I think it was in one of the Dr. Seuss books.
Somnambulance.
Maybe something like that.
So.
Very good. Al titesh teresimecha. You know, you have to remember the bedtime books. Okay. So he says, my eyes. He forbids his eyes from sleeping. Now, vidla of shiura. Okay, so fine. We got that worked out. That a vow could take effect.
He's going to have to sleep eventually.
Yeah, so now that's what Gemara is going to bring up now. Shiura, but if he doesn't give a time limit on how long he's not going to sleep, okay, one of the difficulties in this Mishnah is that instead of saying that it's usr, that's usually how the Mishnah works. If someone takes a vow, this and that, usr. And it means the vow takes effect. The Mishnah uses this ambiguous expression. It says, behold, this is under the category of Bal Yachal Dvarim. Behold, this is under the category of Bal Yachal Dvarim, that you shall not profane his words. Well, now the Gemara asks like this. If he doesn't, the Gemara's understanding, that if he doesn't, if he takes this vow that he's not going to sleep, and he doesn't give a limit on it, so do we allow him to continue holding this vow and see how long he's not going to sleep? Ad avar iser bal yachal, until he violates it? It's not, it doesn't work like that. Rabbi Yochanan taught us, shvur shleish and shleish yamim, malkanai sevish and alter. Someone takes a vow that he's not going to sleep for 3 days. Not only is that not possible, but the vow, not only should he not wait 3 days and see if he can make it out, but he doesn't even have to. It's so not possible that that he can already violate the vow now. The vow's already been it's a shvua shav, it's an impossibility, and he can already go to sleep right now if he wants to.
It will never take effect.
Right. It's so not real that he can keep the vow right. He can violate the vow right now.
But he gets malchus. So
Malkin, I say, he gets malchus.
Generally speaking, does a vow have to be in front of witnesses?
I don't think so.
No, just
Between them, yeah. Yeah.
But the malchus would that be like for saying Hashem's name in vain, or because
I think it's for violating the vow.
But if it's an impossible vow,
but that itself is the problem. He took a vow that's impossible, and so it's considered broken even before he breaks it.
But if it's not considered, like a valid vow, like it never took effect.
No, it's considered a vow that's not. Yeah, I guess it's called. Is this called a shav? Maybe it's called like a neder shav or shvua shav. The Ran says it's because of a shvua shav, because it's a vow that's. See, the problem by shvua shav is I thought that has to do with Hashem's name. Saying Hashem's name, and you're taking a vow that's pointless. What was a shvua shav? It says that this table is a table. He swears. or he says that, or he does something that's absolutely ridiculous. He says that this, it's now, I don't know what time it is. It's day or night. In the middle of the day, he says he swears that it's night. That was also shvushab. So here he's doing the same thing. He's doing something that's like ridiculous. That is, it's so not true. So that's the violation. Well, now our question is that he took a vow, but he didn't give any time limit on it, how long he's not going to sleep. So it looks like we're allowing him to continue to stay awake until he violates it, and then he'll violate it. Are we going to really do that? Rabbi Yochanan taught us that it's right away that it's considered violated. And he gets malchus. Okay, instead of telling me what I thought the Gemara was going to tell me, that he took a vow that he's not going to sleep for 2 days, the Gemara has to come up with something that's a bigger chiddush. Because that I'm not going to sleep for 2 days, we know is a vow. It's only 3 days that it's impossible. People can stay up. Doctors with their rotations get 2 days, we have to. That's not. There's no chiddush in that. So we need a chiddush. So what's the chiddush going to be? The way the Gemara does this is the Gemara is going to tell me a chiddush that's going to either contradict Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda is a Amira. And this, we're going to create now, because we need a chiddush out of the Mishnah, we're going to create a question on Rav Yehuda. It says, rather, you know what happened? He said, I'm not going to sleep tomorrow if I sleep today, which means that he made a stipulation that if I sleep today, then tomorrow's a vow.
But like we said, we can't really make a stipulation for something that we might do in the future. Right?
So Rav Yehuda, let's go back and then go over that. Rav Yehuda said that a stipulation that takes place after the vow, we have a concern that he's going to violate it.
Right.
So therefore, you can't. Let's say it was to sleep. I'm not going to sleep today if I'm going to sleep tomorrow. Then he should not go to sleep today, because tomorrow is not a vow, but tomorrow will violate his vow of today if it's the stipulation. Rav Yehuda's concerned that he's not going to take the stipulation seriously. But if it's the other way, if it's I'm not going to sleep tomorrow if I sleep today,
right.
Rabbi Yehuda is not concerned about him sleeping today, because today is not the vow. It's just the stipulation. And tomorrow is the real vow. And if you take a vow, he's going to keep his vow. We're not worried that he's going to violate his vow. And tomorrow's the vow. It's going to keep it. So now what the Gemara first suggests is the wrong way. The Gemara first suggests that he took a stipulation that he's not going to sleep today, that if he sleeps today, he's not going to sleep tomorrow. So the Gemara says, 1 second. If you do it that way, that the stipulation is first, ha'amrit, kol beisurim mizdar. Anything that's the vow tomorrow, he's going to be careful about that tomorrow. So it should be permissible to sleep today. The Gemara's understanding that when it says, that he's immediately already in a category of do not violate your word, do not profane your words, and there would be a prohibition today. But it turns out, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no prohibition today, because today was just the stipulation. He didn't enter into the violation. It's not, behold, he is now under the category of you shall not profane your words. It didn't even start. The whole vow is just tomorrow. So the Gemara switches it. Now we come up with the real problem. You know what the Mishnah is referring to when it says that he takes a vow that he's not going to sleep? It's when he said that I'm not going to sleep today if I sleep tomorrow. Now, this means that he shouldn't sleep today, even though he didn't violate this, he didn't go through the stipulation yet. But this would be perfectly according to Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara says, "V'ilei nayim hayom," and if he doesn't sleep today, kinayim lamachar my bayachal dvariyah. The Gemara says, 1 second. Gemara thinks at this point that the Bal Yachal Devari is going to take effect tomorrow. That the prohibition is going to take effect tomorrow. Now, because when he sleeps today, he doesn't violate anything biblically. So it's only if he sleeps today and he sleeps tomorrow. The only thing is that if he doesn't sleep today, so then, well, why won't he sleep today? Because Rabbi Yehuda doesn't allow him to. Rabbi Yehuda says he can't. So if we accept Rabbi Yehuda that he's not going to sleep today, so then what Bal Yachal Dvari is there tomorrow? He didn't sleep today. So the tomorrow's stipulation is my Bal Yachal Dvari. He was allowed to sleep. There was no violation there because he didn't sleep today. Why didn't he sleep? Because Rabbi Yehuda doesn't let him. Doesn't allow him. Elalav b'denayim. It must be that he did sleep today. He wasn't supposed to, but he did. Alma isa denayim. Obviously, he's allowed to be sleeping. The Gemara is thinking that why did he sleep today? Because he's allowed to. So that means that Rabbi Yehuda's rule is not correct. It's Yifted Rabbi Yehuda. Why would there be a Bal Yachal Devari? Because he slept today, which was his. I will not sleep today if I sleep tomorrow. So obviously he slept today, and then tomorrow he's going to go to sleep again. That's going to be a violation. But why was he allowed to sleep today? He wasn't allowed. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't let him. So it must be that he was allowed to sleep today. You could play with this back and forth. You could say what means this, as the Gemara is going to do. The Gemara says, Kiktani Delaynaim. What we're actually talking about is that he didn't sleep today. Okay. So if he didn't sleep today, so why is it Bal Yachal Devari? So the Gemara just switches the whole pshat over here. What we mean is that it's not a prohibition. Now, 1 second. What it means is, Hareza b'layachal dvari means that the sleep today is going to cause a prohibition of tomorrow. So therefore, it's the Mishnah, instead of telling me that there's no problem to sleep today, the Mishnah is actually telling me exactly what Rabbi Yehuda means to say, and that you should not sleep today because tomorrow you're not going to take it serious because that's just the stipulation. So Hareza b'layachal dvari. Behold, this goes under the category of do not profane your words. Even the sleeping today goes under that category because of Rabbi Yehuda's logic that tomorrow you're not going to be serious about the vow.
So in this case, today would be the stipulation?
No, the stipulation is tomorrow. Today was the vow. And we're concerned that tomorrow he's going to fulfill the stipulation. So Harisa Bal Yachal Devari already today because we're concerned that tomorrow he's not going to get into it. He's not going to take it serious. Ravina has another interpretation. Lailam Kidiktani. Okay, now what Ravina is doing is he's switching. We said that he was taking a vow that his eyes are forbidden to have sleep. Right, so he's forbidding his eyes from sleeping. So it had to take effect on something. Ravina says no. The Mishnah says Shani Yashin. He says he's taking a vow that he's not going to sleep. Forget the eyes in this. He said, but then the vow doesn't take effect. He says, don't worry about that. My Bal Yachal. You know when the Mishnah says Bal Yachal that it's a prohibition, that's midrabanan. That's only rabbinic. Bal Yachal midrabanan, is there such a thing as Bal Yachal midrabanan, that there's a rabbinic prohibition of you shall not profane your words, even though it's not really a vow, but rabbinically it's already a problem? It says yes, we do have such a thing. But Tanya, we even have a brisa. What does the brisa say? Okay, there's different ways of learning this, but basically, if there's something that's absolutely permissible, but people consider it forbidden,
We're talking here about something like the minhag of the city.
Minhag of a city, yeah.
In this city, we don't need ice cream. Jews don't need ice cream.
So you're not allowed to eat ice cream if Jews don't eat ice cream, let's say. You're not allowed to eat ice cream in front of them because they look at you like you're prohibiting, that you're violating a prohibition. They think that it's prohibited, even though it's clearly allowed. Had this showering, a cold shower on Shabbos.
For example.
Yeah, in America, people don't shower on Shabbos, even cold showers. Is it prohibited? Apparently not, because in Israel they do. They do take cold showers on Shabbos. Yeah. So the Ashkenazim don't. Why? Because Dvarim, what is this called? Hamutarim, Bachirim Naga B'Misr. People consider it prohibited. So Shabbos, shower. So and Yom Tov is a whole machlekes. That's a big deal. If you can look into that. But what we're doing with this over here is we're saying that let's say someone took a vow that doesn't really work, but he thinks it worked. For example, he took a vow that he's not going to sleep. Now, that doesn't work because you can only take an oath like that because sleep is not something of substance. So he took a vow that doesn't work. But nevertheless, because he took a vow and he thinks it works, so it's considered like it worked, rabbinically.
Would that be like the husband that nullifies the vow of the wife and she thinks that the vow is still like...
And she still needs, what's it called? She still needs atonement.
Even the husband nullified it with time.
Yeah, that's an interesting example. Hillel's example, you hear? There was over there. It says that if a wife takes a vow, and the husband annulled it for her, but didn't tell her that he annulled it, and she thinks that it's still prohibited, and then she goes and violates it. So it says over there, Vashem Yislachla, that she still needs atonement, because she violated, thinking that even though it was totally permissible. Yeah, it's an interesting comparison. Okay. So we've just learned that there is a rabbinic bal yachal devar, and that's what the Mishnah is referring to, even though the vow doesn't take effect. Well, Tanan, now we quote a Mishnah. Remember, we've been dealing with a vow that has a stipulation. Rav Yehuda's view is that if the vow was first, and then the stipulation comes later, we don't let you violate the vow in hope that you won't fulfill the stipulation, because we have a concern that you may end up fulfilling the stipulation, because stipulations you won't take serious because that's not your real vow. So let's see the example. The example before was he vows that he's not going to sleep today if he sleeps tomorrow. So he's not allowed to sleep today because tomorrow he won't be serious about not sleeping, because that's not the vow. It's just a stipulation and big deal. I did it already. That's what he's going to say. It was yesterday. Okay. So Tanan, we have a Mishnah. Sha'atnenes li'ad Pesach, he prohibits his wife from having benefit from him until Pesach. He's standing in Adar, it's Purim. He's got all the shalach manas. He says, none of it's for you. In telchi lebeis avicha ad chag, if you visit your father until Sukkot. So he gave this huge stipulation on her. She's not allowed to visit her parents for the next 7 months. And if she does, then she can't have benefit from him in between Purim and Pesach.
Candy.
No candy. Well, where's the vow? The vow is right now, in between Purim and Pesach. How long is the stipulation? It continues on all the way till. So should we let her have all the candy she wants right now? And hopefully she won't go until Sukkot. Or do we say that she can't have anything now? Because who knows what she's going to do, right? So Rabbi Yehuda would say she can't have anything because who knows what she's going to do? She's not going to take a stipulation serious, even though she ate all the all the shalach manas, whatever. Okay, so halcha. Let's say she actually went lifnei Pesach, before Pesach. Nasur banasi ad Pesach. Then of course she can't have that benefit. She went already, right? She went Shushan Purim. It's too late. She can't. Now the Gemara takes a look at this Mishnah and said, what did it just teach us? Halcha lifnei Pesach asura. If she went before Pesach, then it would be prohibited. Loi halcha. If she didn't go before Pesach, loi, then it's not prohibited. Not prohibited. That means that we're not concerned that she's going to violate the stipulation. She's allowed to enjoy it now. It's a kashan Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda would say that you weren't allowed to eat anything now. Amar Rababa says, halcha lifnei Pesach asura v'leika. If she goes before Pesach, then she gets malchus if she eats. Loi halcha. She doesn't go before Pesach to visit her parent, her father, asura ba'alma. Then it's just prohibited for her to have it, but it's not that she gets malchus because she didn't violate the stipulation yet. But it is just prohibited. So what we did was we increased the prohibition if she went already, and that way we have a minor prohibition if she didn't go yet. That's how the Gemara answered that. Ema Seifa. It's not so simple, because if you look a little further here, it says Achara Pesach, after Pesach, Bal Yachal Dvari. Then it's already a prohibition. But if you're telling me that she wasn't allowed to go before Pesach, what's the problem? If you tell me not that she wasn't allowed to go, if you tell me that she wasn't allowed to have benefit from him to eat all that shalach manas before Pesach, like Rabbi Yehuda would suggest, right? That we don't know what she's going to do afterwards. So therefore, there's a prohibition already from now. So after Pesach, is there going to be a prohibition because she wasn't allowed to? Elapshita desani. Rather, you must say that there was no prohibition. She must have had benefit from him before Pesach because there's no prohibition. Alma misane. Obviously, she was allowed to. There's a question, Rav Yehuda. She was allowed to violate the vow. And don't worry about the stipulation. Just make sure not to do the stipulation. And Rabbi Yehuda was concerned that that's not going to play out. So he prohibited the vow to have the benefit before him. Okay, I skipped one point over here. When we said Malchus, that to get Malchus, who gets Malchus? Him or her? The Ran quotes a machlekes between himself and the Rambam. The Rambam says that he gets Malchus. He took the vow that she should not have benefit from him, and she didn't say anything. She violates it. He gets Malchus. The Ran says she gets Malchus. He took a vow. She doesn't say anything, but the prohibition was on her. She wasn't allowed to have benefits from him, so she gets the Malchus. It becomes very difficult that the Ran is dealing with this. How does she get Malchus for something that she didn't even open her mouth? Someone just took a vow that said, you can't have benefits from me. Sort of like, these kids play jinx. You can't talk until someone says your name. I didn't say jinx. I'm going to say whatever I want. You you just made this rule on me. I don't care. That is sort of like, she could say that, I don't care. You made a vow. It wasn't my vow. But no, it turns out that she has to keep the vow that he made. And if not, she gets Malchus. So the Ran is learning.
This is the case because they're husband and wife.
No, it could be someone else also. It could be that that I can't prohibit his property on you, but I can prohibit my property on you. And then if you violate it, she could also make the vow. Yeah, she could also. It was his own property. He prohibits it on someone else, that this other person can have benefit. When another person does, he gets Malchus. Not like the Rambam. Rambam wouldn't say that. Okay, Kiktan, now the Gemara says, the Kashan Rabbi Yehuda. The Gemara says, Kiktani, the Layasani, when are we talking about? It says the Iyasani. I think the E over here means that not. That what it means is that
Here are the trumpet.
it's not. The E is like the ain, like E efsha. What we mean is that she should not have benefit from him already now because we're concerned that she's going to violate the stipulation from now until Sukkot. And she's going to end up visiting her father. Okay, and that basically we just adjusted it to fit with Rav Yehuda, that the Hareza Bal Yachal Dvarim means, like we did to the Mishnah, that it means that she should already be careful now because we don't know how careful she's going to be with the stipulation that takes place later. Tanan, you do the same thing again, just with a shorter time span, exactly the same issue. Shatnenes li'ad hachag, he prohibits her from having benefit until Sukkot. Ooh, that's a big prohibition. No nash. If you visit your father from now until Pesach, what time was it? It was Purim. It was in the middle of Adar. So she's prohibited only for 1 month, but the stipulation is only for 1 month, but she's prohibited for 7 months. If you violate this over the next month, then the prohibition is going to be for the next 7 months. Yeah. Huge consequences.
7 times.
That's right. So, what happens? Pesach. Let's say, what was the stipulation? Was for 1 month. Let's say she violates it. Well, she violated it. She can't have benefit for those 7 months because she violated the stipulation. And okay, the prohibition kicks in. But she would be allowed to visit after Pesach because there was no stipulation about that. That was nothing. Now the Gemara is medayak. Halcha. Why is she prohibited for 7 months? Because she violated the stipulation by going. That's a surah. Loi halcha. If she didn't go, and we're still holding Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is she allowed to start eating already? She didn't violate the stipulation. It's before Pesach. Can she start having benefits from it? I mean, this is a prohibition for 7 months, but can she start in the first month? Just still another 15 days. If she's going to violate the stipulation, then the prohibition is going to kick in. But we only said that because she went, it was prohibited. Sounds like if she doesn't go, she can start eating. So it would be permissible. Again, the Kasha and Rabbi Yehuda. Rava says, who adin dafil loy halcha surah. Halcha surah v'loika, loy halcha surah ba'alma. What we mean is, when is it prohibited? Exactly the way we answered before. When is it? What does it mean that it was prohibited for her to have benefit? That means if she does have benefit, she gets malchus. But even now, even if she never violated the stipulation, it's already prohibited without malchus because of Rabbi Yehuda's teaching that we don't know if she's going to violate the stipulation later.
So,
okay.
Basic question. Spoke earlier about making a vow that's just so ludicrous that you wouldn't be able to keep it. So you get malchus anyway.
Right.
This, she didn't really agree to
right.
just say that. Just wanted to give that.
No, because he owns property. He owns things. He's saying that you cannot use my thing. Now, if he had an obligation to support her, as we're going to see, or certain obligations, then that would kick in first, and then we'd have to reconcile how that's going to work with his prior obligation. But he really doesn't have any obligations. He's just has this stuff that really doesn't belong to her, and he's saying you can't have it. And he makes it so much that you can't have it that he puts this vow on it as if it's sanctified. Makes it like this is a sacrifice to you if you. This is considered like a sacrifice. It's a way of saying you can't have it, but it makes it stronger. Meisvei. Kikarzu alai hayayim, emelech l'makam pleini l'macha. I'm not going to eat this today, this loaf of bread today, if tomorrow I go to a certain place. It's probably dieting. Tomorrow there's a big party. So he says, I'm not going to eat this today if tomorrow I go to this party. Now, he didn't have the stipulation, right? He didn't fulfill the stipulation yet because that's tomorrow. Rabbi Yehuda would say that you're not allowed to eat it today because tomorrow you're not going to be serious because it's only a stipulation. It's not a real vow. This brisa goes on. So Tisefta says, Achal, let's say he eats it today. Then he's prohibited tomorrow from going to that party. We think that when he says Achal, if he ate it, we think that what it means is that he's allowed to eat it. See, Rabbi Yehuda's wrong. He's allowed to eat. He's allowed to eat it today. And don't worry about the stipulation. This was Reb Nachman's view. Reb Nachman said that we know he's going to keep the stipulation. We know he's not going to violate the stipulation. And he's fulfilled the stipulation. We know he's not going to fulfill the stipulation. And so therefore he's allowed to eat it today. Rabbi Yehuda said, no, we're concerned that he will fulfill the stipulation tomorrow. And therefore it's prohibited already today because when we're concerned about tomorrow, what he's going to do. Here it says that he's allowed to eat it today. The Gemara says, Miktani Yoichal. Does it say he's allowed to go ahead, that he should eat it? Ochal Ktani, it says in the past tense, if he ate it. It doesn't say that he could eat it. It says that he did eat it. That doesn't tell me anything. Okay. That if he eats it, then he's not allowed to go tomorrow. Okay, that we understood. Gemara says, Halach hareze bebal yachal dvaroi mahalech loi v'kashel Rabbi Yehuda. Very difficult wording here. It's very, very difficult wording. No, what it means is like this. We said that if he goes, then there's a violation. He ate today. If he goes tomorrow, there's a violation. What Rabbi Yehuda really could have told us is that what Rabbi Yehuda really could have told us is that you're not allowed to eat it today, and therefore l'chatchila you're allowed to go tomorrow. Could have told me that. Why didn't it tell me that? The Brisa could have told me that you're not allowed, according to Rabbi Yehuda, since you're not allowed to eat it today, so tomorrow you can go. Why didn't the Brisa say that? The Brisa only told me that if he ate it today, then tomorrow he can't go. But 1 second, it could have told me that you're not allowed to eat it today, and tomorrow l'chatchila you could go. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that's the way it's set up. Amalach Rabbi Yehuda says you're right. Who had in the listing mahalach? We really could have said that tomorrow you can go, because today you weren't allowed to eat, because we're afraid that tomorrow you're going to violate. So we prohibited today already. I did the ktani reisha achal, the loy misni le'oichel. In the beginning we said a past tense. We didn't say lechatchila. So tana seifa halach. At the end we also said that if he went, even though we could have said lechatchila that he would be allowed to go. Okay. Hoy Malisha. Someone tells to his wife, Kainam shanim meshamshech. He's prohibited from having. He makes a vow that he's not going to have relations with her. So, this is considered a real vow. This is the huge problem. Gemara asks, but he's obligated to her from the Torah. He already, right? The Torah tells him what he has to do. Yeah. He can't take a vow and it's a violation, right? This would be like someone saying, I promised that I'm going to steal from the bank. Now I have to. It doesn't work like that. You're not allowed to, It
would be the same as
right. Exactly. The ksiv, as it's written in the pasuk, she'era means sustenance, right, or food. Ksusa, clothing, vainasa, and time, which means relations. La yigra, he's not allowed to diminish.
So does this change all the this past opinion that we were speaking about?
No, because those were where somehow we had other Gemaras where how does he support his wife if he takes a vow that he's not going to? So he has to have all these other ways. He sets up someone else to do the support or whatever. You have to work it out. I mean, there's ways of loopholes. which the Gemara is going to do right now. It's another loophole. So how does this vow work? The Gemara answers, what he says is like this. It's not that he's vowing that he's not going to have relations with her, because he has to have relations with her, because he's obligated to her. This was part of the marriage agreement. What he says is, I'm not going to have any pleasure from relations with you. And he is not obligated to have pleasure from the relations with her. He's obligated to have relations with her. But he found one part of the relations where he was allowed to prohibit with a vow, which is the pleasure that he gets from the relation. So once that vow kicks in, so then now we can't have relations with him, because it found like a little standing, a little place for that vow to take effect. And now he has no way of getting around it, because the vow did take effect on that spot, on that, the pleasure of the relations that he gets.
You didn't specify a time.
Right. That I don't know if that's see, by sleeping and eating, so that's an impossibility. It's not an impossibility. Well, Damar Rav Kana says, Tashmishi Alecha. This Rav Kana has a statement the other way. If she says that I'm prohibited, the wife says, I'm not going to have relations with you, she tells her husband, then Kaifin Isam Shamashte. He can force her, and she has relations. Is she Buddhi Mishabdasle? Because she's obligated to have relations. This probably violates American law, right? It's probably, is there such a thing as rape in a marriage?
Yes.
Yeah, there is such a thing.
In American law.
No, but that's a date. That's not a marriage.
I think in a marriage, it's got to always be mutual.
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah?
What?
That there's no such thing as rape in marriage. Yeah.
Any lawyers?
You can't
Yes, there is. There
Okay.
is rape in a marriage for sure.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
absolutely.
Okay.
When you get
So-
married, you find
Okay. So, according to Torah,
out.
there isn't.
Trying to encourage him.
According to Torah, there isn't.
It's even worse if they get divorced.
Oh.
He could be totally financially.
Uh-huh. Well, what happens now is she says that she prohibits relations with her husband. Okay, so if that's the case, then we force her. However, let's say she says, Hanas tashmish chalai. She prohibits pleasure from having relations with him. She was not obligated to have pleasure from relations with him. She never agreed to having pleasure. That wasn't part of the marriage agreement. So therefore, she is allowed to prohibit the pleasure. Problem is that when she has relations, she's going to be having pleasure. So she's allowed to prohibit it, and then the vow does take effect. It has a little bit of a standing. Also, because we're not going to feed someone something that's prohibited, which this means we're not going to have her have relations when she's really not allowed to have pleasure from relations. So there is a way of taking a vow that's going to take effect, even though he's already obligated to have relations with her. We're going back to the Mishnah. And how would that work? I'm not sure if he has to say it specifically in this way, or if it's understood that this is what he meant. Probably has to say it. I don't know. He says that he's not going to have benefit. He's not going to enjoy the relations with her, and then the vow would take effect. Okay, let's leave it over here at the Mishnah.
Is it similar like when they add the eyes to the vow?
Oh yeah.